An original podcast from podlatino.com.
In the dense heart of the Brazilian Amazon, beyond the reach of satellite signals and far from any paved road, there once existed a settlement known as Nova Esperança. Founded in the early 1950s by rubber harvesters and river merchants, it was never marked on any official map, but for nearly 2 decades, it was home to more than 200 people, families, farmers, and those seeking escape from the chaos of the coast. The story of Nova Esperança would have remained unknown, lost like many forgotten towns in the Amazon, were it not for what happened in the summer of 1969. A missionary group from São Paulo, assigned to deliver medicine and food supplies upriver, docked near what should have been the village's main pier. What they found was silence, not emptiness. Silence, the kind that feels unnatural in a jungle. No voices, no footsteps, no laughter, no birds. The village was intact. Homes made of split timber and clay stood undisturbed. Cooking fires had gone cold, but the coals were still visible. Pots still hung over them, hammocks swayed gently in the breeze, and tools lay on the ground as if dropped mid-use. But there were no people, not one. 212 individuals vanished. The missionary searched every hut, every clearing. No blood, no signs of violence, no struggle. Just the feeling that everyone had stopped what they were doing and walked away. On the wall of the largest communal house, someone had carved 4 words into a beam of wood. "Don't follow the drums." That was the only clue. When authorities arrived days later, they examined the scene. The wood carving was confirmed to be fresh, carved no more than a few days before the missionaries' arrival. There was no indication of an attack, nor signs of mass illness. No valuables were taken, no crops harvested. The village had simply emptied itself. Then came the reports. River traders began speaking of a rhythm carried on the wind at night, a low, distant drumbeat that echoed through the trees. Not tribal, not ceremonial, but constant, methodical. Some described it as a heartbeat, others claimed it sped up when approached and slowed when avoided. No tribe in the area admitted knowledge of such a signal. Indigenous elders refused to speak of the drums, warning that they had been heard generations before, always followed by disappearance or madness. An expedition of Brazilian military engineers entered the jungle weeks later, hoping to trace any signs of migration. They followed what seemed like an old path heading west into denser forest. After 4 days, the entire team returned, all except one soldier. According to the survivors, he had walked off during the night, following a sound none of them could hear. They searched until dawn, but only found his boots beside a creek. No blood, no struggle, just his boots, perfectly placed. The government closed the region, citing unstable terrain and risk of disease. Nova Esperança was erased from official records, but the missionaries had already told their story, and the legend spread. Over the next decade, similar reports emerged from across the region. Small villages near the Tapajós and Madeira rivers described rhythmic sounds at night. Whole families fled deeper into the forest. In one instance, a child was found hundreds of kilometers away, barefoot, dehydrated, unable to speak, except to whisper one phrase in broken Portuguese. "We thought it was music." In 1987, a French ethnographer named Claire Dufour included the story of Nova Esperança in her field notes. She was one of the few who attempted to connect the myth of the drums with a long-forgotten Amazonian belief, the encantados, entities that dwell between the worlds of spirit and matter, neither gods nor demons but lures. According to the legend, the drums are not calls for worship, they are traps, and those who follow them vanish not into death, but into a silence that exists outside of time. A place without return. Skeptics point to more mundane explanations: illness, migration, cult behavior, or organized abduction. But none of these theories account for the calmness of the scene, the lack of evidence, or the repeated reports of drumming in places hundreds of kilometers apart. In 2003, a documentary team tried to retrace the path to Nova Esperanza using old missionary journals. They found only jungle, not ruins, not foundations, nothing. As if the village had never been there. Only one thing remained, the beam of wood on which the warning had been carved. It was found deep in the underbrush, half buried, but the words were still visible. The wood had not rotted. Maisa Lu. Today, deep in the Amazon, people still speak of the drums. Whispered stories pass from boat to boat. Some say the sound comes during the dry season. Others say it moves with the rivers. But all agree on one thing. If you hear the drums, don't answer. Don't follow, don't even acknowledge them. Just keep walking. Because once you hear them, they already know your name.